Hello and welcome back to another wildcard video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about what the heck happened to wildcard. There was a big patch that came out earlier this week, I think it was a few days ago, and they completely changed wildcard up. So this video is going to cover all of the changes, give you some tips, tricks, and suggestions on how you can have the most amount of fun in this new version of wildcard, because once you get it, it's actually a ton of fun. So let's go ahead and jump in. Previously, wildcard had 3 maps on rotation. That is gone. There is no longer a rotation. The only map that is available right now is E-District. E-District has been changed up a little bit, and it has a Cyberpunk 2077 theme. So you're only going to be playing this map for until the event is over, basically. When you first start out in the new wildcard mode, almost every single game is going to start out at the Arasaka Citadel. This is very similar to Broken Moon on how everyone jumps out and everyone just goes to quarantine zone no matter what the flight path is. It's pretty much the same thing here. I've noticed almost every single game, everyone starts out at the Arasaka Citadel. As far as the wildcards go, this is where the biggest changes happen, and this is where we're going to spend most of the time on this video. Right now, there are no longer craftable wildcards. You used to have to go to a crafter to choose which wildcard you wanted, and you got 3 different ones at different points during the match. That's all gone. Everything is now available directly in your HUD. About 10 to 15 seconds after the match starts, you can go ahead and select your wildcard directly from your HUD by pressing the same button that you would normally press to upgrade your perks when your armor evolves. When you press that button, you're going to be given 2 options. The first option is a portal. The second option is a dash. So let's talk about these 2 different options that you have. These are your 2 wildcards. The way the portal works is that there is a very brief charge that goes off. It takes a few seconds for it to kind of wind up. And once that goes off, you will become untargetable and you will have enhanced movement speed. Your entire screen will turn pink and you'll kind of fly and float around for a very short duration. Once that short duration expires, you come out of that untargetable state and you explode, breaking enemy shields upon the explosion. After that explosion, you are briefly visible through walls, and the detonation radius is actually pretty big. So this is kind of a cool way to dive in and basically go have this big huge explosion and dealing all this damage to players, and then it's also a really great escape as well. So your second option is the dash. The dash is an omnidirectional dash just like Ash has, except it is on steroids. You will dart in whatever direction that you're facing once you press your button. That activates your wildcard. We'll talk about that later. You cannot gain altitude throughout this. It's just an omnidirectional, like just look in a direction, press your button, and you will dash in that direction. I feel like most people are choosing the dash right now, and that's just because it's a lot more versatile than the portal is, because the portal, you can use it for getting in and getting out, but there's some downsides to some pretty big downsides to it as well. Whereas with the dash, you can do the same thing. You can dash into a fight with a shotgun and deal damage. You can also run away with it as well. You can also You can also use the dash to avoid damage by dashing back and forth. Makes you very, very difficult to hit. You can chase people down. You can run away from people. You can cause chaos and confusion. It's actually a really fun ability once you figure it out. I would recommend using the dash over the portal right now. It fits my play style. Try both and see which one you like, but for me, it's the dash. Next, let's talk a little bit about the new resource that has been introduced in this version of wildcard. This new resource is called Cyberpsychosis. It is shown here in the bottom right corner of your HUD. Anytime you use a wildcard, anytime you use your ability, that meter will go up. You can dash 14 times before you max out the meter. Your 15th dash will transform you. We'll talk about transformations here in a second. And you can use the portal 4 times before you max out your resource. On the 5th portal, you'll transform, and we'll talk about the transformation now. If that meter maxes out, you're basically going to go Super Saiyan, okay? There's no other way to put this. Your gun goes away. You have no gun, and you can only use a melee attack. Your shields are gone. You gain some new abilities too. You get Sparrow's double jump. You get Revenant's wall climb, at least a version of it. You also get enhanced movement speed, and you can briefly run on walls as well. The melee attack hits for 100 damage, and it also has a small range to it, so you will kind of attach to a player. It has a little bit further of a range than you might expect, and you don't have to aim it very, very tightly. There's some forgiveness there when it comes to the aim, so as long as someone is in your general view and you use your melee, you're going to hit them for 100 damage. Other players can tell that you're in this Super Saiyan mode by your health bar. It's going to change and it's going to look black and orange, and then you yourself are going to be giving off like these red electrical sparks that indicate you're in this Super Saiyan mode. If you die while you're in this mode, you will respawn with your resource meter completely back, all the way back down to 0. Now let's say this version of playing the game isn't something that you like. This is a shooter game. I want to shoot guns. I don't want to run around and punch people. To which I would say, yes, I understand exactly what you're talking about. I agree with you. So if you don't want to go Super Saiyan, you have to manage this resource. You'll do this by using two things. There's a new item called the immunosuppressant syringe, and there's also these green vats that are scattered along the map. A couple of things to note about the resource meter and about the syringes. First thing is that the resource meter never goes down upon death. Now, all of your usage of your ability carries over every time you die. The meter does not degrade over time as well. It will stay exactly where it is unless you use an immunosuppressant syringe or you touch a green vat. The syringes can be found in normal supply bins or they can be found on the ground. They're green. The vats are located all over the map. They're not like spammed or anything. They're strategically placed, and you can only use each vat once. Now just keep in mind that everybody can see the same vat, but everyone can also loot that vat as well. So nobody can steal it from you. It's just that everyone knows it's there. You can use it whenever you want to or whenever you're ready to. If you use a vat, your resource meter will fully reset to 0. If you go to one of those green vats and you use it while you're in Super Saiyan mode, you will go completely back to normal, and your resource meter will also be back to 0 as well. Keep in mind that you can also use those syringes when you are in Super Saiyan mode, but it does take 3 uses to pull you out and calm you back down. And if you do that, then your resource meter will be back down to 0 as well. So there is some extra resource management that you have to do here. And I think, to my knowledge, this is the first time in Wildcard that this has been introduced. Typically, we only have to manage your health, your shields, and you got to keep an eye on your health, but your health auto regens once you're out of combat for a few seconds. But now you have to keep an eye on your health, and you also have to keep an eye on your cyber psycho meter, your resource meter, whatever. So we'll talk about some tips that I have on how to manage that toward the end of the video. But for right now, that's basically all of the changes that we've seen in Wildcards so far. I've been playing it for a couple of days now, and I think I have a good idea on some tips and tricks on how to make life a little bit easier in this Wildcard mode. And we're going to start out with the guns. So one thing you need to keep in mind is that if you are holding down your fire button, you can't dash anymore. Your dash does not work. You have to release your fire button before you can dash. Therefore, any gun that requires you to hold down the fire button for a long time isn't really great in this game mode. It's just not. People are going to be bouncing around and off the walls like crazy, and you're going to be standing there holding a Spitfire trying to hit these crazy moving targets while they're doing literal circles around you. So in my opinion, light machine guns like the Spitfire or the Rampage or the Devotion are not great for this game mode, and ARs are kind of in that category too, just because they can also have large magazines as well. Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying that these guns will never work. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that for me, I like to have a very active play style, something that is very intense. You're bouncing around and you're trying to confuse your opponents. So standing still isn't really for me. Maybe it works for you, but for me, I'm not going to recommend LMGs and ARs. Same concept, same idea with sniper rifles. With a game mode that is so heavily focused on being mobile, sniping gameplay, it's kind of like a secondary sort of way to play the game, and it's not really that great either. So marksman rifles like the Scout or the 30-30, sniper rifles are not, the bow and arrow or the Sentinel, they're not really going to be too great for this game mode. Again, I'm not saying that it can't work or that it won't work. I'm just saying I think it's harder to play this game mode using those guns. So what guns should you use? Submachine guns and shotguns are fantastic for this game mode. The reason why is because submachine guns like the CAR, the Volt, and the R99 burn through ammo really, really fast. So you can empty a mag and then just start dashing around really fast. So while you're reloading, you're not just standing there. You can dash back into cover, or you can move around. So you have an opportunity to unload your mag and then get moving. Shotguns are also really, really good too, because you don't have to hold the button down for the shotguns to be effective. Now, I know that for certain shotguns like the Eva or the Mozambique, you can hold your mouse button down. Even outside of this game mode, I would say that's a bad habit. I would say click every time when you're ready to fire the gun instead of holding the button down. Those clicks are great because you can sprinkle dashes in between those clicks, and you don't have to think about, oh, am I firing right now, or why isn't my dash working? You don't have to do that. You can just click shift, my button shift, click shift, and you can keep on doing that, and you can time those things really well once you get some practice in. But that's why I love submachine guns, and that's why I like shotguns. Another gun that is fantastic for this game mode is the Wingman, and that's because you actually can't hold the fire button down with the Wingman. You have to click it every time. So that lends really, really well toward this style of gameplay. So you can continue to press shift and click and alternate back and forth, and it's a lot of fun when you get into a rhythm and you get it right. Takes some practice, put some time in, but once it clicks and once you start doing some really cool acrobatics, you'll see that's where the fun comes from. The last gun that I'm going to recommend is the Gold P2020s. Now, I know this has a little bit of a larger mag and that it fires a little bit slowly, but the Gold P2020s have a perk, and the hop-up that's attached to it is you deal additional damage to non-shielded enemies. If you remember, when you go Super Saiyan in this game mode, you lose your shields, meaning if you have those gold P2020s and someone is trying to come at you, you're just going to delete them with this gun. So it's really, really nice to have this gun, to have the gold P2020s. So if you find them, I would use them and try to level them up, or if you can find gold ones just from a supply bin, get them and use them, because anyone that goes into Super Saiyan mode is really going to have a hard time against that weapon specifically. So let's talk about some heroes. Right now, I am using Ashe in this game mode. I just like Ashe in general in the gameplay. I like the ability for her teleport. But what's really important here is not like her actual dash does get overshadowed by the wild card, but her snare. Oh man, her snare is so good in this game mode. I can't tell you how many times I have dove onto someone using the dash from the wild card, hitting them with a snare, and then watching them try to run away, but they can't leave.
You're going nowhere.
I got so many kills that way. Also, if someone is running away, you can throw the snare at them, and if you aim it correctly and time it correctly and also get a little bit lucky, you can lock them down and catch up to them. So that snare is really, really, really awesome in this game mode. It's just great. I've seen a lot of players playing Octane, which is kind of funny because playing Octane in this game mode is funny because you're taking all of the speed enhancements and then just multiplying them to the nth degree. So not only are you dashing all over the place, you're also using your jump pad to fly around like crazy, and you're using your stim to keep on running like crazy. It's just like maximum velocity gameplay. So I've seen a lot of Octanes. I've also seen a lot of Sparrows as well, because Sparrow's double jump pairs really well with the dash. You can jump up in the air and get some height, and then dash in, a little bit higher off of the ground than you normally would, which is a great way to confuse enemies and to not take as much damage from opponents. The last hero that I would recommend in this game mode is Axel. Axel is kind of the flavor of the month right now. I think she's probably going to get nerfed soon, but it's the same idea as Octane. Axel is taking the movement speed and multiplying it to this crazy degree, so you can do all of these dashes, you can throw down your boost on the ground, and then you can fly away and do all of these crazy drive-bys. But her passive, where you have additional control over your slides, pairs really well with the dash, because once you start dashing, you'll naturally start sliding out of it, and having additional control over your slide combos really, really well with the dash. So those are my heroes that I recommend. We're going to wrap up the video today with just some general tips on how to make sure you have the most amount of fun possible in this game mode. The first one, do not underestimate the distance of that Super Saiyan melee attack. It is further than you think it is. Remember that when you're in that mode, you don't have to be directly on top of someone to melee them. There is a short gap that will automatically close once you use your melee and you're in that range. It's a little bit further than you think. So if someone is chasing you, make sure that you dash backwards to keep that distance between you and them, and keep yourself out of range. Because if you think I'll be fine, they're far enough away, you won't be. It'll change like that, and then all of a sudden you're going to be dead and be like, what the hell just happened? How did I just die to this? This doesn't make any sense. It's because it hits for 100 damage and it attaches to you. So keep that distance. It's very critical for survival. The second tip is kind of the same flavor, but also don't underestimate the distance of the portal explosion. It is way bigger than you think it is, and it also hits things above you as well. It's crazy how big it is, and remember, it knocks off all shield. Keep that in mind. If you think someone is going to be diving you with that portal, back away and don't underestimate how big that explosion radius is. Next tip, use your resource wisely. I mentioned earlier we were going to talk about this, but there is a time to spam it, and there is a time to use it with intention. This will come with practice, but generally speaking, don't spam your ability unless it's absolutely necessary. So if you're in like a shitty situation and you think you're about to die and you can't get out, yeah, go ahead and spam your ability so you can turn Super Saiyan, because if you're going to die anyway, it might be worth it to try to take somebody with you, because once you respawn, you're going to get all of your resource back anyway. So it might be worth it to do that. What I've done is I will try to get into a fight and use my resource in the way that I think is best, and then after the fight is done, I'll use one syringe, at least one, to push that back down, because I don't really want to transform. Maybe end game you want to, but from my perspective, it's not really an advantage to transform into the Super Saiyan mode. Yeah, it's fun, it's cool, yeah, you do a lot of damage, but let's face it, this is a shooter game. You're going to get shot, you're going to die. So I typically try to stay out of that mode in most situations right now. Last tip, and then we're going to wrap the video up, but this is kind of more of an advanced tactic. But one thing that you can do is that if you know you're about to transform, you are one dash or one portal away from transforming, you can combo that with the transformation for a wicked amount of damage and a really, really cool and satisfying combo. So if you know you're going to transform and you have the dash, what you can do is you can dash directly on top of someone. And then once the dash is finished and you transform, guess what? You're already in melee distance. So you can just be like, dash, bang, and punch them in the face and they're dead. It's really, really satisfying when you get that combo right. But that's something that you can also do with the portal too. If you know that this is my last portal, you can use it to hammer in, dive in, use the EMP, and then once you come out, you're transformed already and you're already in melee distance. And then you could just punch them in the face.
In the face!
That is going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. As you know, I don't ask for subscribers until after I've provided you the information and after I've provided you the video. So if you've made it this far and you are not yet subscribed to the channel, really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button. You'll get notified whenever I make a new video. Next video I plan to make is going to be a 20 bomb on E-District, and we'll go through more of an analytical process for how I accomplish that. So that is going to do it for this one. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. We will see you in the next one. Bye.